you make jokes for a living, right? You make lots of jokes for a living. How are you going to survive in this environment making jokes for a living?
Just piss people off. I mean, you're gonna always have people. You're gonna have more people upset with you, and there's more righteous indignation, I think, than I've ever seen in comedy. I've had more people furious at me for what are clearly jokes than ever at any other time in my career.
And this is the hardest thing, right? Because you make it something that's clearly a joke, and then somebody writes down the transcript of the joke, and now you have to explain the joke.
Right.
Well, that immediately kills it, because as soon as you explain a joke, it's no longer a joke. So if you make a joke that's politically incorrect, and then they write it down, and everybody who heard you at the time knows that you were making a joke, if they write it down and then you have to explain it, you've automatically exited the realm of jokes, and so now you're trying to explain the statement as like as true or decent, when that's not the point of the joke in the first place.
Yes, exactly. And you miss the context, you miss the way it was delivered, you miss the tone, you miss everything. But what they're doing is they're just trying to find targets. And I think that's one of the things that's happening with Roseanne. And it's one of the things that's happening whenever anybody screws up in the media. You just get these people that they want a target. It's a game, and the game is take someone down. The game is call someone out, take someone down, shame them. Get the Twitter mob and the Facebook mob. Get them after them. Let's go. Let's move. Let's start a hashtag. Let's attack Morgan Freeman. I heard he told a joke. This is like. Did you read the woman's account from CNN with her interview with Morgan Freeman?
I think we covered it, but I can't remember it.
He was playing God in a movie. He's played God in a movie, and she asked him if you had magic power, what would you do with it? And he said, you wouldn't have a stitch of clothes on. That was the joke. That was it. And she was like, God, you mess with the wrong girls, and I'm number 17 out of all these girls that have come after you. And it's like, wow. He was on the spot. He's being interviewed. He's on a red carpet. He tries to crack a joke about you being naked. Like, is this really the worst thing that's ever happened to you? Is this really this, or is it just a joke? And when I'm looking at it, even in text, I find it to be silly.
But just a joke is dying, obviously.
Just a joke is still just a joke. It's just a joke.
Well, I think there is that backlash happening. It's one of the reasons why you've become incredibly popular, because you just don't care, right?
Well, I feel like if you have you money and you don't say f you, then who's going to? Who's going to? Like, I'm a good person. I'm a nice guy. I pay my taxes. I have a bunch of great friends and loved ones.
You have kids.
I have kids. I try to be nice to people. That's what I try to do. But if I see something that's ridiculous and I make fun of it and people get mad at me for that, that's on you. Well, that's on you.
This is why so there's a picture of you along with the rest of the intellectual dark web in this big New York Times piece by Barry Weiss. I don't know, were you standing in a bush or something? Like, for some reason, everybody was in foliage taking these pictures. So what do you make of the whole intellectual dark web contingent? And there's been this now huge backlash by a lot of folks, particularly on the left, saying, what's up with this intellectual dark web? It's just a bunch of unacceptable, deplorable people talking with each other, and they don't have anything to say. What do you make of the whole phenomenon?
Well, the name is all Eric.
Right, Eric Weinstein, yeah.
Eric is crazy, and he loves like all the cloak and dagger and all the hidden, just the name of it, intellectual dark web. It's like he concocted that.
Soros, yeah.
Oh, was it? Is he behind it? But Eric he's brilliant. I love him.
Oh yeah.
And I love his.
Eric is
the
smartest person I have ever met, and I can't understand half of what he's saying.
Yeah, he's a very intense guy, but he loves all this stuff. He gets a kick out of it. And I think there's a certain amount of silliness in calling it the intellectual dark web. I mean, you and I are essentially in some sort of a super group. What are we in?
We're super friends. Exactly.
Yeah, and what I felt was fascinating was that a lot of people were trying to label us as like deplorable conservatives. And like when they were saying this is a group of renegade conservatives. Well, I'm pretty liberal, like pretty liberal across the board. If you want to talk to me about gay marriage, you want to talk to me about gay rights, women's rights, like
drugs.
You go down the line. Universal health care, universal basic income. I mean, I'm pretty liberal. Like but it doesn't fit the narrative. I look like a Trump supporter, right? So like, there's
a white and buff or what?
Yeah, I'm a white bald guy who works out too much. There's a lot of there's a lot of need to label someone into an easily dismissible category, and that category is conservative, like ruthless, nasty, mean, a person who's not kind. You're not a person who's caring about other people. You're a conservative. You're a mean bully, mean mad white man. As what is his name that said that to Jordan Peterson in the Monk debates? Michael Dyson, I think his name.
Oh, Michael Eric Dyson?
Yes,
Michael Eric Dyson?
yes, that's who it was.
Michael Eric Dyson. Yeah.
He called Jordan Peterson a mean, mad white man. A mad mean, one of those.
Yeah.
But it's there's this need to categorize.
Except for Ayaan Hirsi Ali and Christina Hoff Sommers and half the people who are members of the club.
Majid,
exactly. Dave Rubin, who's gay, right?
Yeah. It's hilarious.
It's this really like bizarrely diverse group and really ideologically diverse too, because it's a bunch of people. I mean, like Brett Weinstein, who's a member of our secret group. Right? He's a socialist. He backed Bernie Sanders in the last election cycle.
Yeah.
And so what do you think generated? Was it just the political correctness, the insanity of the hard left that threw everybody out?
Dishonesty. It's dishonesty. It's the same thing that led to what happened with Brett Weinstein at Evergreen when they had this day of absence where they wanted all white people to stay home. And he's like, "Hey, this is racist. Like you're absolutely targeting people based on their race and saying you're not welcome here. This is a day, instead of it being a day of absence where people of color stayed home voluntarily and weren't chastised if they didn't, instead of that, it was no, white people have to go away. And if you don't, you are a racist." And this is what happened with Brett. And it's a terrifying story. And when I interviewed him on my podcast, it was before he had left Evergreen. He was still employed there. And he was talking to me about mobs that were wandering the parking lot with baseball bats. And they were looking for him. And it was terrifying. I mean, he had to take his family out of the state. And who is this? Are these Nazis? Are these the KKK? Are these right-wing thugs? No, they're extreme progressives with pink hair who are, non-binary sexually. Like, it's very bizarre. And there's a lack of reality that you have to adhere to this narrative. And if you're not adhering to this narrative, then you are some horrific person who is a product of the past, and you're a part of the patriarchy, and it's not an honest discussion. Mm-hmm. If you see all the people that are involved in this, air quotes, intellectual dark web, the one thing they have in common, all of them are going, what in the is everybody talking about? Like, what is this? What's happening here? Like, why are we pretending that men and women aren't different things? Why are we pretending that to tell people that you have to stay home because you're white? It's racist. That is absolutely racist by definition. That's what racism is. You're discriminating against someone based on their race, not based on their character or their job position or anything else. You're just white people.